It's midnight. I'm Anita and you're watching Nightline. The headlines. Failure to declare assets. Daim's wife to be charged on Tuesday. An announcement on new Sarawak Governor to be made within a day or two. Begin with our headlining story. Puan Naimah Khalid, the wife of former Finance Minister Tun Daim Zainuddin, will be charged in the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court on Tuesday. She'll be charged under Section 36(2) of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Act for failure to declare her assets. Naimah, in her response, said she will appear in court and fight the charge levelled against her. On January 10th, Naimah and her two sons, Amir and Amin Zainuddin, were summoned to the MACC headquarters in Putrajaya to have their statements recorded. The MACC said this was done to ascertain the values of some of the high-value assets, domestic and abroad, held under the companies belonging to them in relation to the probe on Daim. The graftbuster previously confirmed that it was investigating Daim over allegations of corruption and money laundering based on information obtained from the Pandora Papers leak. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has consented to the new Sarawak Governor candidate. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the announcement on the matter is expected to be made within a day or two.
Premier Abang Johari dan saya telah kebukakan calon nama itu kepada Pertuan Agong minggu lalu dan itu telah diperkenan dan akan diumumkan mungkin salam 1-2 hari ini.
Anwar said this to the media after launching the 2024 Global Intellectual Discourse at University Malaya in Kuala Lumpur on Monday. He, however, kept mum on whether Tan Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar had resigned as the Dewan Negara President in order to be appointed the 8th Sarawak Governor, succeeding Tun Abdul Taib Mahmud.
Kemudian tentang Yang di-Pertua Dewan Negara akan kita bincang dan kita ada juga mesyuarat dalam perpaduan malam ini kita bincang supaya dapat disegerakan pelantikan.
On Friday, several news outlets claimed that Wan Junaidi had submitted his resignation as the Dewan Negara President, and it was rumoured that he would be made the next Governor of Sarawak. However, the GPS chief has declined to comment on the speculation. Meanwhile, during his speech earlier at the launch of the 2024 Global Thinkers Discourse event, Anwar called on the people to continue supporting the government's efforts to uphold good governance and fight corruption. The Prime Minister said he needs the full support of the people to combat these issues, especially since he is aware that such efforts are disliked by certain quarters.
Sebab rasuah dan tak kelola lemahlah yang menyebabkan puluhan bilion wang rakyat dipunggah untuk beberapa tokoh tertentu. Jadi sudah, saya harap saya akan dapat, kalau tidak ada sokongan dalam politik atau lain-lain, sekurang-kurangnya dalam isu tata kelola dan tuntutan ke arah perubahan, saya pohon dukungan penuh daripada rakyat terutama yang berfikir.
Anwar stressed that the distorted view held by some, believing that individuals in high positions, such as the Prime Minister and ministers, must be commensurate with great wealth, should be strongly opposed. He also emphasized that everyone, not just politicians, should shoulder the responsibility to bring about change in the country. On another matter, the Prime Minister said that the implementation of the Targeted Subsidy Program, or Sumbangan Asas Rahmah, SARA, for this year begins in stages from Monday. He also announced that the initiative has been improved, with the allocation increased more than fivefold to 700 million ringgit, compared to 130 million ringgit last year. In a posting on his Facebook account, he said the much larger allocation had also enabled the government to increase the number of SARA recipients to 700,000, compared to 210,000 last year. Anwar added that the amount of assistance was also increased to 1,200 ringgit, double the amount from last year. The Prime Minister also said that Malaysia's economic transformation begins by uplifting the status of the people. Thus, the improvement of the SARA program is the first step in addressing wealth disparities and building an inclusive society, as envisioned in the Madani economy framework. He added that the government will also announce further improvements to other assistance programs to uplift the economy of vulnerable groups and uphold the principle of equality. Also on his social media post, Anwar has urged government-linked companies or GLCs to remain committed to playing their role in supporting the Bumiputra empowerment agenda. The Prime Minister stressed that the Bumiputra agenda is a national agenda and should always be backed by clear governance. He said this following the pre-Bumiputra Economic Council (MEB) meeting, which he chaired in Putrajaya on Monday. The meeting, which was also attended by the Deputy Prime Ministers, relevant ministers and several GLC Chief Executive Officers, touched on the position as well as present and future challenges related to the Bumiputra economic development. Also discussed was the hosting of the Bumiputra Economic Congress, or KEB 2024, to be held from February 29th to March 2nd this year. The Congress is aimed at assisting the government in setting a new direction and approach, as well as building up a fair, equitable and inclusive Bumiputra agenda. The government will find a mechanism to speed up the implementation of the proposal to automatically upgrade the B2 class motorcycle driving licence to a B licence. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the matter will be finalised during a detailed meeting between the Road Transport Department JPJ and Bukit Aman Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department JSPT.
Ada tempoh tertentu, utamanya dari segi umur. Pemohon itu mesti berumur 35 tahun ke atas. Yang kedua, memegang lesen B2 itu untuk satu tempoh yang tertentu, barulah layak untuk dapat B full. Ya.
Zahid said this to the media after attending an engagement session with the Malaysian Motorcycle Association in Putrajaya on Monday. On the time frame for the implementation, he will leave it to Transport Minister Anthony Loke to decide on the matter. In August last year, the Deputy Prime Minister said the proposal for an automatic upgrade from B2 class to B licence would be brought to the Transport Ministry for consideration. The RTD classifies Class B2 driving licences for motorcycles not exceeding 250cc, while Class B involves motorcycles exceeding 500cc. The Agriculture and Food Securities Ministry, through the Paddy and Rice Regulatory Board, will work with the Malaysia Competition Commission, MyCC, to investigate allegations of cartels in the country's rice industry. Its Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu on Monday said the probe is expected to take time, as MyCC needs to understand the overall structure of the industry first.
Apapun disiasat dari masa ke semasa. Jadi tuduhan satu perkara, siasatan satu perkara yang lain. Dan selepas siasatan itu siap, baru kita bincang di sudut tindakannya. Iaitu jadi siasatan sentiasa berjalan.
Muhammad said this after attending the opening ceremony of the Ala Sekinchan Large-Scale Smart Paddy Fields Smart SBB program in Pekang Pahang, which was graced and officiated by Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah. Muhammad also said the food chain aspect in the rice sector involves multiple stages, necessitating a detailed and comprehensive investigation. Previously, the Bumiputra Rice Association of Malaysia, BARIM, claimed that there was a certain arrangement set by Padi Beras Nasional Berhad Bernas, in addition to claiming that cartels were most likely in existence. BARIM President Ismail Awang reportedly said that association members did not receive local rice supplies from Bernas because they were told there were no stocks, yet most supermarkets received their supplies.
In Sabah, a businessman with a Datuk title and 10 others were charged in the Kota Kinabalu Sessions Court on Monday with being members of the organised crime group known as Geng Upe. However, no pleas were recorded from the 11 men after the charges were read out before Judge Nur Hafizah Muhammad Salim. The accused are Datuk Maslan Sani, Rahman Burijin, Jai Salfian Jaine, Elias Zaini, Shahlan Shah Abdul Samad, Nelson Yi Chong, Muhammad Farizul Asmahadi, Fazrul Baha, Alkan Abraham, Mazlan Mahmud and Mahathir Jibril, all aged between 31 and 51. They allegedly committed the offence between 2015 and December 24th last year. The charge under the Penal Code carries a jail sentence of between 5 and 20 years. Nur Hafizah denied bail and set March 1st for case mention before it is transferred to the High Court. Deputy Inspector General of Police Datuk Seri Ayub Khan Maidin Pichai previously said all the suspects were arrested on December 25th after being suspected of running Sabah's largest drug distribution syndicate. The leader of the syndicate was said to have overseen a non-governmental organization to protect his illicit activities since 2015. The syndicate was also found to be involved in money laundering through various businesses operated by its members, including oil and gas companies, as well as a chain of restaurants. Following the arrest, police seized various assets worth more than 7 million ringgit, including a ferry, multiple restaurants, a bungalow, luxury cars, and 12 companies involved in tourism, manufacturing, as well as oil and gas. Up next on Nightline, dozens buried in southwest China landslide. News from the foreign front when we return. Stay tuned.
Lesen warga tempatan, tapi yang berniaga warga asing.
Bos, Malaysia punya orang kena ada sini. Saya mari dia ada ke tak? Sekarang tak ada, insyaAllah.
Taktik Alibaba semakin parah.
RM20 pun satu hari I tak boleh balik. Memang kesan untuk saya lah, my economy, because they taken my customer all.
Saksikan 999 Selasa jam 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD ditonton.
10 pencuri bergabung demi menyelesaikan satu misi dan satu agenda di sebaliknya. Berjayakah misi The Thieves? Jumaat ini 10 malam di TV3 Cinema dan stream sekarang melalui tonton.
We're back with news on the foreign front. Violence in Gaza continues as Zionist shells battered Khan Yunis on Monday, cutting off 2 hospitals as the city saw the bloodiest fighting since the new year. At least 190 people were killed and 340 wounded in Gaza over the last 24 hours, with fighting around the hospitals making the provision of medical care difficult. Tanks closed in on Al-Amal Hospital and Al-Khair Hospital in part of a Zionist offensive to take control of Khan Yunis, with Israel saying the city is now the main headquarters of the Palestinian group Hamas. Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, just like all the hospitals in southern Gaza, is also under intense attack, with ambulances unable to respond to calls. Health officials said at least 20 dead bodies had arrived overnight when the hospital was still accessible. The majority of Gaza's 2.3 million residents are now caged in the 2 towns of Deir el-Balah and Rafah, just north and south of Khan Yunis. Meanwhile, Palestinians buried their dead in a Khan Yunis hospital yard on Monday after they were unable to reach cemeteries due to what they described as a siege by Zionist forces around the Nasser medical complex in southern Gaza.
حاليا بيتم دفن جثث الشهداء في مجمع ناصر في الأراضي المفتوحة هنا، لأنه صعب جدا أنه تخرج برا المجمع على أي مكان أي مقبرة أنه تدفنهم، لأنه إحنا محاصرين وأي أي بني آدم بيتحرك خارج المجمع بيتم استهدافه. الليلة طبعا عايشنا ليلة مرعبة جدا، لا يكاد يتوقف القصف فيها دقيقة واحدة. الأبنية تهتز فينا، المكان شظايا تتطاير علينا، ويبدو أننا تحاصرنا يعني من جميع الجهات مثلما عايشنا هذا المشهد بالضبط في مجمع الشفاء قبل عدة أشهر. كنا محاصرين ولا نستطيع الخروج، وحتى نحمي كرامة الشهداء من أن تتعفن أجسادهم أو تخرج ريحتهم، اضطررنا أنه في ساحة مجمع الشفاء أنه ندفنهم. وها نحن نعاصر المشهد ونعيش المشهد مرة أخرى وندفنهم في ساحة مجمع ناصر. فلا مكان آمن، لا مكان للخروج، حياة صعبة.
On another matter, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday has rejected a proposal by Hamas to end the war and release captives in exchange for withdrawing Israeli forces, releasing prisoners and accepting the armed group's governance of Gaza. Netanyahu had dismissed Hamas's conditions to end the war, which he said included leaving Hamas in power and Israel's complete withdrawal from the territory. He added that accepting Hamas's conditions would mean leaving the armed group intact and that Israel's soldiers had fallen in vain. Meanwhile, the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, has said the bloc's ministers will work towards achieving a 2-state solution for Israel and Palestine in meetings in Brussels, with Germany saying it backs the initiative. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said that the 2-state solution is the only solution to the conflict. At least 8 people have died, while dozens of others remain missing on Monday after a landslide struck China's southwestern province of Yunnan. According to authorities, the landslide, which took place at 5:51 a.m. local time in Zhenjiang County, trapped at least 47 people. Local media said around 18 households were buried and that more than 200 people were urgently evacuated from the area. Authorities have launched an emergency response involving over 200 rescue workers, as well as dozens of fire engines and other equipment. The cause of the landslide is still unclear, however. Efforts to establish what happened are underway. Landslides are common in Yunnan, a remote region of China where steep mountain ranges butt against the Himalayan plateau. Rain and high wind warnings have been issued across the United Kingdom on Monday as Storm Isha continues to hit the country, killing at least 2 people and bringing gusts of wind up to 160 kilometers per hour. Overnight, the storm left more than 55,000 homes in the UK without power due to strong gusts of wind and rainfall that triggered more than 80 flood warnings. Northern Ireland is the worst affected, with more than 45,000 power cuts, followed by the northwest of England, Wales and Cornwall. Meanwhile, a rare red alert has also been issued in Scotland for strong winds lasting more than an hour, particularly in the north. However, the National Weather Service said that though Storm Isha is now moving away, the entire UK will remain under a yellow weather warning for wind until midday on Monday. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ended his fading presidential campaign on Sunday and endorsed Donald Trump just 2 days before the pivotal New Hampshire primary, leaving former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley as Trump's last long-shot challenger for the Republican nomination. In a video posted on the social media site X, the Florida governor endorsed Trump while delivering a parting shot at Haley. Later, addressing an audience at a rally, Trump, who spent much of last year attacking DeSantis, praised the governor and said he was looking forward to working together to defeat President Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee. DeSantis' decision caps a stunning fall from grace after he had been widely seen as Republicans' most promising alternative to Trump ahead of the general election in November.
We can choose political indoctrination.
Australia on Monday axed its so-called golden visa, which granted wealthy overseas investors the right to live in the country. Designed to attract foreign business, the scheme was cut in an immigration overhaul after the government found it was delivering poor economic outcomes. The scheme will be replaced with more skilled worker visas. Thousands of significant investor visas have been granted through the program since 2012, with 85% of successful applicants coming from China. Up next, Saudi Arabia move into Asian Cup knockouts. Sports right after this breather. See you after the break.
Okay, today we fight for Malaysia. Jom na Jos. Harimau.
Jos. Extra Jos dengan Royal Gel, ginseng Korea dan vitamin B kompleks.
Bersama kekal bertenaga. Jom na Jos.
Extra Jos.
Lesen warga tempatan, tapi yang berniaga warga asing.
Bos, Malaysia punya orang kena ada sini. Saya mari dia ada ke tak? Sekarang tak ada, Islam.
Taktik Alibaba semakin parah.
RM20 pun satu hari I tak boleh balik. Memang kesan untuk saya lah, my economy, because they taken my customer all.
Saksikan 999 Selasa jam 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD di Tonton.
As promised, we're back with sports. Football, the 2024 Asian Cup. Saudi Arabia booked their berth in the knockout stages after defeating nine-man Kyrgyzstan 2-0 in their Group F clash. Kyrgyzstan had a nightmare start to the game when Aizer Akhmatov saw red after just 9 minutes, following a poor tackle on Saudi Arabia's Sami Al-Naj. Saudi capitalised on the advantage and found the breakthrough in the 35th minute when Mohamed Kano turned in a cross at the far post. Kyrgyzstan's night went from bad to worse when Kimi Merk was sent off in the 52nd minute for a reckless challenge on Hassan Al-Tambakti. Substitute Faisal Al-Ghamdi finally put the result beyond doubt 6 minutes from time with a fierce shot from the edge of the box that goalkeeper Erzan Tokotev fumbled into the goal. The 2-0 scoreline remained till the final whistle, moving Saudi Arabia to the top of the group with 6 points and will go through to the knockout phase as group winners if they can avoid defeat against Thailand in their final match on Thursday. Turning to tennis now, the 2024 Australian Open. Spain's second seed Carlos Alcaraz was at his imperious best as he dropped just 8 games in a straight sets demolition of Serbia's Miomir Kecmanovic. The second seed raced past Kecmanovic 6-4, 6-4, 6-love to seal a quarter-final berth for the first time at the Hardcourt Major. The 20-year-old, seen as the biggest threat to defending champion Novak Djokovic, did not face a single break point in a dominant performance, rolling over his opponent in 1 hour and 49 minutes. Alcaraz will play 6th seed Alexander Zverev of Germany next. Earlier, Zverev overcame a grueling 5-set battle over Britain's Cameron Lorry to move into the quarter-finals. The German 6th seed pulled through for a dramatic 7-5, 3-6, 6-3, 4-6, 7-6 triumph over Norrie in a match lasting more than 4 hours.
I think we do it again.
Coming up after this short breather, factory worker jailed for slashing brother's hand. Stay tuned.
在路上图点什么呢？我们的目标，太阳之泪。
10 pencuri bergabung demi menyelesaikan satu misi dan satu agenda di sebaliknya. Percayakan misi The Thieves. Jumaat ini 10 malam di TV3 Cinema dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Wow, 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 wow! Semua dah gaji ke tu?
Apa tunggu lagi? Jom penuhkan troli. Kita check out ni. Wow, dah gaji. Hadiah percuma, penghantaran percuma dan hiburan percuma. Semuanya percuma. Memang paling wow lah! Ingat gaji? Ingat wow dah gaji! Secara langsung pukul 9 malam hanya di TV3. Wow dah gaji! Hidup mesti ada wow!
We're back with more news on the local front. In Terengganu, a wood factory worker has been sentenced to 6 years in prison by the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court for slashing his brother's hand almost to the point of severance. The accused, 32-year-old Muhammad Sharif Suhimai, received the sentence after pleading guilty to the charge of causing serious injury using a machete against his 25-year-old brother, who also worked in the same factory. The incident took place at the factory in Ajil, Hulu Terengganu on October 29th. It was believed that the incident occurred after the accused allegedly claimed that his brother had taken his salary and refused to hand it over. He was charged under the Penal Code for voluntarily causing injury using a dangerous weapon. The court also ordered for his jail term to begin from the date of his arrest. Over in Selangor, a mother and her daughter died in an accident when a lorry ploughed into 4 vehicles at Jalan Banting Dengkil, Sungai Manggis in Kuala Langat on Monday. The victims were identified as 43-year-old Nur Hikmah Abdul Rahman and 10-year-old Nur Irsalina Zohra Sarful Nizam. State Fire and Rescue Department Assistant Director of Operations Ahmad Mukhlis Mukhtar said his department received an emergency call regarding the accident at about 7 a.m. 3 people who were pinned in one of the vehicles were extricated by rescuers at 9:45 a.m. However, Nur Hikmah and Nur Irsalina were pronounced dead at the scene. Another passenger from the car, 16-year-old Nur Irdina Wafa, sustained minor injuries and is currently receiving treatment at the Panting Hospital. It was believed that the accident was due to the lorry having a brake failure. The 47-year-old lorry driver has since been detained by police for further investigation under the Road Transport Act. Over in Malacca, 4 men, including 2 Indian nationals, were slapped with 26 charges of stealing, receiving and disposing of stolen property worth over 649,000 ringgit that belonged to a telecommunications company. All the accused, however, pleaded not guilty after the charges were read in separate proceedings at the Ayakaro Sessions and Magistrates Courts.
The accused are 34-year-old Dharmaraj Ramar, 25-year-old Puviyarasan Arjunan, both Indian nationals, and 2 local men, 42-year-old Hugh V. Low and 48-year-old Yo Chong Leng. Hugh and Yo are facing a total of 15 charges for stealing 442 access cards owned by Telkom Malaysia (TM) in Malacca Tengah between December 29th last year and January 7th this year. Meanwhile, Dharmaraj and Puviyarasan were charged with 9 counts of disposing of stolen property at a scrap metal yard in Jalan Sungai Besi Ceras, Kuala Lumpur on January 4th. All the charges framed under the Penal Code provide a maximum prison sentence of 7 years and a fine if found guilty. The foreigners were also charged under the Penal Code for receiving stolen property, which carries a prison sentence of up to 20 years upon conviction. Both Hyo and Yo were granted bail of 97,000 ringgit each, while Dharmaraj and Puviyarasan were each granted 37,000 ringgit bail and imposed several conditions, including surrendering their passports to the court. Case mentioned for all the accused was set on March 5th.
Over in Selangor, 3 scrap metal factories in Teluk Gong, Klang, believed to be involved in forced labour, were raided by authorities on Monday. The special joint operation, which was carried out at 2:30 p.m, involved officers and personnel from the Police, Immigration Department, Manpower Department, as well as several other agencies.
Bukit Aman Criminal Investigation Department's Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Unit Assistant Director ACP Hazril Khamis said over 100 foreigners were detained for various offences, including not possessing valid travel documents. It was suspected that the owners of these factories were not only exploiting their foreign workers but also involved in 4 cases of child exploitation. Additionally, the owners were also found to be stealing electricity through illegal underground connections. These illegal factories, which have been operating for the past 6 months, primarily employed workers from Myanmar and Indonesia. All those detained aged between 16 and 40 were taken to Klang Selatan Police Headquarters for further investigations under the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act as well as the Immigration Act.
As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look as Canada's renowned Rideau Canal Skateway, also known as the world's largest natural ice skating rink, opened on Sunday morning for the first time in 2 years. With that, I'm Anita. Thank you for tuning in and have a great week ahead.